This is section A.1, part 1, where you are evaluating expressions. So, evaluate algebraic expressions for a given replacement set to include rational numbers, and evaluate expressions that contain absolute values, square roots, and cube roots. So remember, absolute value, they look like this, so maybe you have absolute value of -4. Well, absolute value of anything, remember, is positive, so for that example would be 4. Square roots, remember, look like this, so the square root of 4 would be 2. In other words, what squared gives you 4? And then cube roots are just like square roots, except they're undoing a perfect cube. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So the cube root of 8 is 2. Alright, so vocabulary. An expression consists of numbers, variables, and operations. Notice no equal sign. And an algebraic expression is just an expression that includes at least one variable. So it's that variable that makes it algebraic. And don't forget, expression means no equal sign. Alright, so when we are evaluating expressions, we are going to plug in the numbers, also known as substituting in the numbers. Okay, using order of operations, so remember your PEMDAS. And then we simplify. So your final answer should always be in simplest form. Alright, so for your first example, find the value of 4b plus 12 over 3a plus 2c if a is 8, b is 5, and c is -4. Anytime you see a negative in algebra, I want you to use parentheses. Okay, on the calculator, by hand, no matter what, I want you to use parentheses. So 4b plus 12, I'm going to plug in 5 for b. 4 times 5 plus 12. And remember, anytime you have two things next to each other, that means you're multiplying. Over 3 times 8 plus 2 times -4. Alright, the trick with fractions is that you have to simplify the top and simplify the bottom before you can combine. Alright, but the first thing that I want to do is multiply before I add. So 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 12, 3 times 8 is 24, plus 2 times -4 is -8. Alright, and now I'm actually going to add before I divide, and that's just the case when you have something going on the top and the bottom, and you need to take care of it before you can divide. So 20 plus 12 is 32, 24 plus -8 is the same thing as 24 minus 8, which is 16, and 32 divided by 16 is 2. So that's your final answer for that one. Alright, again, what is the value? So first you're plugging it in. 3 times -1 squared minus 3 squared. So -1 squared, -1 times -1 is actually +1. Because remember, I'm doing my exponents first, no parentheses, so I'm doing exponents. And 3 squared is 9. So now I have 3 times 1 is 3, minus 9 is -6. So that would be H. Alright, example 3, evaluate the cube root of x plus y times p when x is 8, y is -28, and p is 1/2. So before you panic, plug stuff in first. So the cube root of 8 plus -28 times 1/2. Alright, well, the cube root, so square roots and cube roots, we're actually going to treat like parentheses. So we're going to do that first. And the cube root of 8 is 2. Because 2 cubed is 8, and when you take the cube root of something, you undo it. Right? So the cube root of 8 is 2, plus negative 28 times 1/2 is just like doing negative 28 divided by 2, which is negative 14. So 2 plus negative 14 is 2 minus 14, or negative 12. Now I'm doing that in my head, but remember, you're always welcome to double check on a calculator. Alright, example 4, evaluate, and again, make sure you're using parentheses around your negative numbers, and make sure you're finishing the top and the bottom before you divide anything. Alright, so we get negative 1 squared plus negative 4 squared over negative 1 squared minus negative 4 cubed. Alright, so first things first, negative 1 squared becomes positive 1 plus negative 4 squared is positive 16. Negative 1 squared again is positive 1. And then negative 4 cubed is actually negative 64. So we end up with minus a negative 64. And minus a negative becomes plus. So we end up with 17 over 65. And 17 does not go into 65 nicely, so we are actually done with that example. That would be your final answer, 17 over 65. Alright, and for your last example, notice this time we have absolute value. So before you can take the absolute value, you have to finish simplifying what you see inside first. So again, go ahead and plug it in. You get absolute value of 2 minus 5 plus 5 squared. 2 minus 5 is negative 3, so the absolute value of that plus 5 squared is 25. Well, the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3, plus 25 has to equal 28. And that's it for that section.